Take a look at this guy's smoldering look. What a great emotion and a great capture. Unfortunately, this photo wouldn't be useful for stock because the photographer had the flash on their camera go off. And that's a big no-no in stock. If you want to sell photos as stock, you have to have the flash look natural, as though it's coming from somewhere else, or it's natural light or something like that. The reason I can tell that this person used on-camera flash is because there's this deep, harsh shadow right along his jaw line here, and there's also a shadow here and here. You can really tell when somebody uses on-camera flash because the shadow tends to be very intense and right up against the subject. So if there were a wall here behind him, you'd also see this line follow his face up the side of the wall. That's a no-no, and stock inspectors will ding you for it. Here are a few more examples. This person thought of an interesting concept that might be saleable as stock. This is an alternative health method here, but unfortunately, again, we have that on-camera flash, which we can see right here in these dark lines in her pants and under her arm, and here there's this shadow from the chair up against the wall under the chair. Here we have the same thing. We have another great concept, an artist working on his work. The theme for April was everyday people, so this is a really perfect example. And here we can see this harsh shadow again from direct on-camera flash. Here again, really adorable kid. Look at his blue eyes. And we have the flash showing up here under the brim of the hat and here against what looks like this chair. And also pay attention to where you're cropping. If you're going to crop here, you probably want to crop in a little bit closer or a little bit farther out just to make sure you get the tips of his fingers and the tip of the hat. This photographer got in nice and close, which is great, but again we see some evidence of on-camera flash right here, right next to the glasses on the face, and down here under the chin too. You see this really harsh, deep shadow. And again in this case, right under the chin and the glasses, although I do love this photo composition. I love the idea of the three forks here to share the pie with this woman. And again, we got in really close, which is great, and the on-camera flash went off, which we can see down here underneath the pipe and just barely along the brim of this hat. And here I'm not sure that the flash was actually on this camera because the camera is facing the person right here and the flash looks like it's coming from the left. So there's this harsh shadow underneath the brim of the hat. So that's something you do want to do. You want to get your flash off of your camera and over to the left, but in this case the lighting is still too harsh because you don't want any shadows that have that really sharp line like that. One thing you can do is turn the flash around backwards and bounce it off of a wall, or you could send it through a softbox. So that's something that you put over the flash to diffuse the light before it hits the person, and usually that gives you softer shadows than here. Here again we see another example. You can see the outline of these cabinets on the wall back here, and you can also see an outline around this person's hand, though I do love this subject and I think it's pretty funny. You also want to make sure that you straighten out your photos. Stock agencies aren't going to take these at an angle like this. This is super cute. Yet again, we do see on-camera flash right underneath his chin here. You could maybe get him to stand up next to a window or get someone to hold him next to the window, take him outside into some shade and get the light around him bouncing up onto his face instead of shooting with an on-camera flash. Then you'll probably be more successful here. Let's look at a few more examples from the Everyday People Challenge. These next few were not shot with on-camera flash, but they were shot using pretty intense lighting. It looks like this first photo of this adorable girl with her pumpkin was shot maybe in the late morning or the early afternoon because the shadows on her face are pretty dark and intense. You can see that the light is coming from up above and it's just a very intense light at this time of day. One thing that you could do is try to shoot in the earlier morning or later afternoon when the sun is lower and you get a nice golden even light. And another thing you could do is to move her into the shade and then bounce some light back up onto her face with a reflector. You can also try shooting in this intense light, so have her here where she is and have somebody hold a reflector or a piece of white foam core or something just to reflect some more light up onto this side of her face. Even with that bright light coming in on this side, if you're able to reflect some over here, then you can probably get rid of some of these shadows. Okay, same thing here with the time of day. This guy is, it's a really great subject for stock. He looks like he's a baby boomer. He's out enjoying, looks like a vacation in a tropical destination. I like the concept a lot. The thing is that the shadows on his face are really intense because the sun is really high in the sky, casting this intense light straight down on him. You can see that the shadow from his hat is right here, so the sun has got to be directly above. If you can get him back out in the water around 6 p.m., 5 or 6 p.m., when the light is lower, then you'll get a nicer evening light on him and you'll have less of a harsh shadow around his face. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is your horizons. Here your horizon is crooked and stock inspectors will ding you for that. So that's an easy fix in processing, but again, that's something you want to try to get right in camera when you can. In this case, again, we have the harsh shadow around her eyes because of intense sunlight. So either you could have someone stand over here off camera, out of the frame, holding a reflector, bouncing some light up onto her face from this direction, or you could get her into some shade and bounce some light up onto her face from there. Or again, wait for another time of day when the light is less intense. And here we have the same thing. We have harsh shadows underneath the face and on the clothing and down here. This is a great concept. I like this a lot. Girl with her dog. The dog is engaged with her and there's action and motion here. But again, you'd want to wait for another time of day so that the light is less intense. A lot of times all you really need to add that extra punch to your photos is a reflector. This person waited until later in the day. You can tell by where the light is hitting this couple here over to the side, and it's great because the photographer turned them this way so that the light is hitting them on the side instead of right on the face or anywhere else that would be distracting. So the light here on their face is nice and soft, which is great. One thing that you could do is add a reflector and get a little bit more light on their face so it look a little bit like this. And then another thing is you could either use a wider aperture or you could step back further from the couple and then zoom in and blur out the background a little bit more. So you'd have an effect sort of like this. This photo is great because there's nothing really distracting coming in along the edges. It's nice and clean. She's a really cute girl. She's got some light bouncing up onto her face, I'm assuming from the pavement in front of her here. So we've got a nice even lighting here. But if you could use a reflector, you could probably even get some more light up on there and have someone stand right here holding a reflector, or kneel right here holding a reflector. Just bounce some more light up onto her face to get a brighter effect.